to engage in this way and not visit you in your offices as usual, because I want to see everybody who works here. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is the sole ministry responsible for the issuance of passports. However, in doing so, we use other agencies, and I'm told there are 9 agencies that are present at any passport application center. So invariably, what happens is that the ministry staff are made up of the OIC and vetting officers in some cases, and also those in the printing rooms. But this is augmented by officers from all your agencies. I have written to all agencies that any officer who has been here for more than 1 year, which is what it should be replaced. This is because we all know the saying that familiarity breeds contempt. We all know what's happening. There have been various reports in the media, on social media, in the mainstream media, of people's experiences, even as we stood here waiting for you to gather. The kind of comments that came from the members of the public who are here as Ghanaians to apply for passports. They are not here because they want to be here. They are here because they need passports to travel, to renew their passports. Why should they be treated in a way that is not what is expected of people who are giving a service? You are not doing them a favor. In fact, their passport fees and the taxes of Ghanaians pay you all respectfully. So when they come to you, treat them well. This cannot continue. I always say that there's too much happening that really shouldn't be happening within the passport acquisition system. If we talk about Goro people, these Goro people are outsiders. They do not work on their own, because if the Goro person collects somebody's money, they need to work with somebody from inside to change the dates. They work with people from inside. I'm not saying all of you, but there are some of you who are engaged in it. And this should stop. The blame is always on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Meanwhile, it's the agencies, and I'm sure even some of our staff are involved. Public servants who are supposed to be giving public service to Ghanaians. The Vice President has led the digitalization effort with my support and all of my officers to put in place an online system. Now the online system is being manipulated so that people can make money off it. There's an investigation going on, and some names have been mentioned. And there are people from outside, a cartel, who are working with people from inside. Anybody who has been here for more than a year, from Monday, please do not come back, because you've been changed. We want to bring some sanity. Every time politicians are corrupt. Meanwhile, it's some public civil servants who will do things that shouldn't be done, and then they put it on politicians. We come, we do the right thing. I'm trying to bring sanity into the passport system, but no. I'm praying for that day when national identification will be issued to every single Ghanaian. And that day is coming. I'm told that they've issued to over 50 million already, and it's still counting. Then no other agency will be allowed into a passport office because there'll be no need. Because when the person comes and they key in their name and their national ID number, all their details will come up, and therefore there'll be no need to have any other agency. Maybe apart from the printing room people, nobody will be necessary anymore. So I beg you, do this work from your heart and stop making money off people. Number one. Number two, treat the people who come here, the kind of comments that I've heard, it's not the best. Treat them well. They come here for today, you won't see them again, because apart from coming for the passport, they won't come here again. So I thank you. I needed to have this eyeball to eyeball conversation, not come to your offices. I needed to do this because it's becoming very serious. And many of you are under investigation and you are not aware.
So this episode of Diplomatic Affairs will see us presenting two major stories from the diplomatic community, that of Ghana and the sub-region that is the West African region. We will be focusing on the economic community of West African states, ECOWAS. I want to believe you are keenly again monitoring events from that angle. The economic community of West African states, ECOWAS, which is the regional bloc, has not really been happy with current events in Niger. Niger carried a coup d'etat, deposed its constitutional president, and has taken over power, ruling the country. Now, the economic community of West African states, ECOWAS, says its framework does not allow such behaviors when it comes to governance in the sub-region. We are talking about invasion in Niger. We will also speak to the experts who can take us through the dynamics when it comes to invading Niger. What are the consequences? That is the question we are asking. And also, how legitimate is this move by the economic community of West African states? I will be back right after this break.
In previous seasons, you saw this.
You are not allowed to hawk or preach in commercial vehicles.
The perception in Ghana is abortion is illegal, and we don't follow up with the exceptions.
The existence of the customary marriage is no prerequisite
for the ordinance
marriage.
Yes. And now, are you ready for this?
Some people express the fact that they don't go on leave with pride.
Accumulated leave, like they term it, is illegal.
Because in Ghana we don't have enough lawyers, and the accused can apply for bail where he has no lawyer.
Knowing full well that you have an STI and you do not reveal that to the person and you have the sexual contact with the person, it is also part of domestic violence.
Join the Law Express panel for relevant, informative, and educative topics.
It is clear that if the court grants bail, it is the registrar of the court that has the power to deal with execution of the bail.
All matrimonial properties that are sold without the consent of the other party are actually null and void.
The issue of corruption, the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime has listed the Passport Office as one of the corrupt institutions in the country. To help us really understand this is the Honorable Member of Parliament for the North Tongu constituency in the Volta region, who also serves as the ranking Member of Parliament for the Foreign Affairs Committee. I think we are in the right place, just so we can understand what is really happening. What are some of the measures that we can introduce to run a very effective service to the good people of Ghana? Honorable,
hi.
It's good to see you again. Thank you so much for your time.
The pleasure is all mine.
How are you?
I'm fine, and congratulations. You're doing very well. I follow your show keenly, and you are enjoying the monopoly on the airwaves, so keep it up.
Well, we are here because we've always had the likes of you holding our hands through, so we really appreciate it as well. Thank you. Now, Honorable, I'm sure you were listening to my intro keenly. First, let's talk about the UN Office of Drugs and Crimes report, stating the Passport Office as one of the corrupt agencies or institutions. This goes to the Foreign Affairs Ministry. What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The entire report paints a very terrible picture about our country, particularly how the delivery of public goods and services continue to be tainted with corruption, bribery, underhand dealings, influence peddling, and outright criminality in some instances. It's a very damning report, and it makes for grim reading. I must say that such a report, which will receive very wide attention because of the institution that carried it out, should be a report that all of us in leadership, whether within the legislative organ or the executive, and for that matter, the judiciary, all of these three organs must take steps to address the content of that report. And so far, it does appear to me that some institutions are taking appropriate steps. You may say that probably late in the day, but as they say, it's always better late than never.
Right.
And this report is consistent with our ranking on the Corruption Perception Index. And you notice that Ghana has stagnated over the last couple of years. So we are not doing very well when it comes to corruption perception. And you see, this is not a matter that you take lightly because it has so many implications. Even for investment drive, before investors decide to choose your country to come invest their money, see if they can establish their business, create jobs for your people. These are some of the reports that they read to know if it is a good place to come invest. Will I have good returns, or I'll be frustrated even before the business gets set up? Will I have to engage in all of these underhand payments, which takes away from the core business? And so I may not even get to realizing my goal. And they will look at other countries who are faring better and then decide to take their investment there. In the process, we lose out, particularly young people who are looking for jobs. And you know the situation with unemployment, which the Ghana Statistical Service reports is at an all-time high. So we cannot continue to just treat these reports lightly. And we cannot continue to underplay the impact of these reports. Then also, you must know that within the Committee of Nations, countries and governments are looking at reports such as this, so that if they want to send your way assistance, if they want to partner with you, how sure are they? Because remember that their citizens will also be critical of them. What is going into the decision? Why are you choosing Ghana and not say, Tanzania or Rwanda or Kenya. So there must be some justification. And if citizens read these reports, which are widely circulated online and everywhere, their governments will have to think again before really firming up that decision that we want to come and invest in Ghana. So let us not take these reports lightly. Sometimes there are those who say that, oh, you know, these reports may only be discussed for a few days and that's it. Politicians may take it up and probably do the usual political football with it. Those in government will be defensive. Those in the opposition would want to bash the government with it. But let's go beyond, you know, just the everyday rhetoric and look at the far-reaching implications. So I've talked about business, investments. Look, we spend so much money going out there through the Ghana Investment Promotion Center on a regular basis to attract investors. Then I've talked about the partnerships that we have with governments. And you see, they have to decide. Yes, there are all kinds of bilateral, historical alliances and all of that. But if corruption continues to get out of control, there is no guarantee that they will get value for money. We don't have to downplay the consequences, the economic impact, the opportunities that we lose by some of these reports. And I do hope that the president is going to take this report, is going to take the other report, the Corruption Perception Index, where we have stagnated for a while. And you see, there are a number of things that we need to do. We must begin a very drastic implementation of reforms. And what do I mean by those reforms? They are reforms in the governance sector of our country, because you see, everything is about leadership. So within the governance architecture, why should we still have a system where people feel so emboldened to demand bribes and they get away with it? It should not be acceptable. We must set examples. So you should have a system of reporting. We passed the Whistleblower Act, for example. We are not really implementing it. Where people, anybody who encounters any official, whether you're a politician, whether you're a public servant, whether you're a civil servant, who is making such demands, it should be possible for that person to go to a particular office, report, and be protected. And let that person be dealt with. Let there be severe sanctions. When people see that, look, this is costly, there are serious punishments coming your way. The cost of corruption. I mean, there are all kinds of figures all over the place. Sometimes it's estimated that annually, the billions of dollars that we are losing from corruption. Imagine if those monies were kept in the kitty. See the state of our hospitals, women still delivering on the floor. See the state of educational institutions. Anytime you in the media go out there to check the state of our schools,
I agree.
You know, without furniture and all of that.
All in all,
you
corruption hinders the development of the country.
Exactly. It is a mass murder. There are people who are dying from diseases that can be cured because we just don't have the equipment to use. And that is why they died. Or we don't have, those hospitals could not buy some medication. And it's because those funds have been diverted. There are people who are at home now without jobs, graduates for years, just because we couldn't find that money which has been diverted to establish an industry where they can work. So we must think about it more deeply, more broadly, and have a new leadership approach. And it must start from the top. You see, I have been quite disappointed that the current leader is in a hurry to clear people, to say that, oh, they are not guilty, and to be, you know, you see, so those who work for him know that, oh, there will really be no punishment, there will be no sanctions, the president will rush to my aid. When you know that your boss is no nonsense, that even before it is established, he will take a very strong view, And if it is established, you are gone. You are a goner. You are dead. You will see that attitudes will be different. So
Definitely.
So I mean, this is a very important subject that we should be discussing always. And you know, there is a former ambassador, I think it was a former Dutch ambassador, who said that one thing as he leaves the country, he's not able to really reconcile is how we are very religious, either Christian or Muslim, and yet anytime he reads the corruption reports on Ghana,
it doesn't reflect.
It doesn't
in our
reflect.
Doings
it's not
or
commensurate.
attitude.
You know,
Exactly.
so probably even our religious leaders in our churches and all of that, we should take this matter up
and do something about
seriously.
it. You talked about a new leadership approach. Let me come to this move by the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Honorable Shirley Ayokobotre. This will not really be the first time we are seeing her, you know, stormed the passport office and just to get an idea of what happens. But this one, not even the ministry was in the know. As far as I'm concerned, even the ministry itself as an institution didn't even know she was headed to the passport office for this assignment. What does it mean? This is a big move, and you're talking about a new leadership approach. Is this commendable?
Yes, I have publicly commended the minister, and I have taken the view that this approach is helpful. I mean, her intervention brought memories of Professor Mills, if you recall. Perhaps in the entire history of our country is Professor Mills who, as president, will storm offices to check if people are reporting on time. What are they doing when they go to work? Are they really working? Or they are reading some magazines or watching some movies and all of that. And so I remember as Deputy Minister of Information at the time, hey, you don't know when Professor Mills may come to your office.
You sit up. You better sit up.
So everybody was sitting up. So it helps. Don't underestimate the impact of some of these things when you know your boss can just show up uninvited. You know, so it's not an armchair boss. Your boss could just decide to appear on the scene. It helps. So I have commended the minister. Aren't we tired of, ministers just go to the office, they just sit at their desk. Everything is by appointment. We know when they are coming. Everybody dresses up the place nicely. Everybody is well behaved, well dressed, and then we welcome the minister. There's even a welcome party at the gate before the minister arrives. Aren't you all tired of that? And is that not so pretentious? Does it really, give any minister or any, head of a public institution the real picture? So I have commended the minister, and I think that we should see more of that from our ministers and other high-ranking public officials. However, I have also added that there are some aspects to this whole development which deserve our attention and our consideration. The first one is, in as much as we commend the minister and we welcome this move, let us all acknowledge that it is not sustainable. How many times can the minister pay surprise visits? She has other things to do. She has other assignments. Foreign minister will be traveling a lot, attending to our international obligations and all of that. So it's not a sustainable path, even though we welcome it and we encourage her that as much as possible, let's see more of it. But it's not sustainable. So we must acknowledge that. The second thing we must acknowledge is that this whole development, if the minister had paid a surprise visit and everything was working well, nobody is frustrating the system, collecting bribes, engaging in dubious conduct, then we can say that those who the minister appointed as head of that institution are doing a good job. To the extent that the minister comes to meet such a sordid situation, an unpleasant situation, it means that those in management, there is always a director of the passport head office. there's a deputy director. It means that somebody is checking their responsibility. And I am sure that they themselves reflecting would not be proud of what has happened. Because it shouldn't take your boss. That's your duty. It shouldn't take your boss to arrive on the scene and have to fire people, impose sanctions for the right thing to be done. You yourself should have questions to answer. And in a lot of jurisdictions, by now, whoever is even director of the agency will have resigned long ago, will not even wait to be fired. So we must also acknowledge that this development brings to light how people who are given roles, functions to perform, don't really perform their functions, check their responsibilities, abdicate. And so, you see, if the minister had announced that she was coming, you will have seen how everything will have been papered over and all the cosmetics will have been done. But a surprise visit and see how they have been exposed. So they have questions to answer. And I hope that the minister will not only focus on those low-lying officials who have been dismissed. Because, you see, they are only a reflection of the management and the kind of ecosystem that has been created by the management. So those at the top should also have questions to answer. It shouldn't be just the low-lying officials. So that has to be done. Then the third acknowledgement that we must have is that, look, what is causing this racketeering, this black market system where people are paying to get passports?
Guru boys.
Guru boys and all of that, middleman, middlewoman. What is happening is that there's a backlog. I remember at the level of the Foreign Affairs Committee, we received petitions from numerous people, constituents, non-constituents. So we decided to summon the ministry, the passport office, and the vendor. I recall the first meeting, the vendor didn't show up. We sent very strong warning that they must show up at the next meeting. They did. And then we discovered that apparently there is a backlog, about 11,000 passports.
Uncollected.
Oh. No, not, there was the passports uncollected, but there's those who have applied.
And they haven't been issued with their passports.
Waiting for appointments
Right.
to even come do their biometrics and be issued with passports. The explanation was that because of COVID, supply chain challenges, so the vendor said that he was struggling to catch up with the pace. But the meeting concluded with a roadmap where they assured us that in the next 3 to 4 months, the backlog will be cleared. The minister also said they had ordered a giant printer, which will be installed and will help to
speed up the process,
speed up the clearing of the backlog. What has happened to all of those assurances? It does appear to me, based on what the minister went to see and based on the reports that are coming in that we continue to receive from the general public, that it doesn't seem the roadmap was followed. Probably there's been some bottleneck. So that is what we have to address. When we have addressed the backlog, then we can revert to the full automation. So we take out the human factor. Why people have to pay bribes and all? Because they see human beings in the way and they see that there's an opportunity to jump the queue. If we clear the backlog and we now know it's full automation, you go online, you don't have to go and meet anybody. There is no Kofi or Amma in the way. There is absolutely nobody, no connection man, as we call them in Ghana, who can bring you ahead of the queue. There's even no queue really. You go online, apply, choose your date. If it's express service, you are told express is within 7 days or 10 days, then it's automated. When it's time, you receive your text message or email that come and pick up your passport. It solves the problem. So these are the things that I will expect that moving forward. And as you do know, the House is on recess. So when Parliament resumes, we hope to...
This is going to come up definitely.
We hope it definitely will come up. We will invite...
Deliberate this and
we'll
invite the minister.
The minister and the passport office to give us an update on the roadmap that was agreed, the assurances that they gave us, what's happening to that giant printer that was ordered, and how well have they done in clearing the backlog.
I received information from the ministry saying that they are going to give name tags to staff of the passport office to help with their mandate. How sustainable is this also? The name tags, the numbers out. I think this is a great move,
yes,
right?
it's a good move. I will have added one more.
Okay.
And I hope that it is not too late for them to consider it, which is to install cameras.
Oh, okay.
Install cameras. I mean, this is the modern era. Even now in our homes, you can be in your office and still be seeing what is happening at home. So they should install cameras and let there be screens even in the minister's office. So the minister real time can see what is happening. She doesn't have to pay surprise visits. And these days, with this sophisticated CCTV gadget, they can even, there's even an app. So as you are traveling, wherever you are in the world, you can still check and monitor. And when people know they are being watched, they behave, I mean, very well. They know the consequences, you know, because a lot of, nobody collects bribe in the open. Well, except sometimes our, you know, very famous police service, but
well, the police service was also mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, you know, they feature always historically. They are. I mean, they know they are my friends.
I'm issuing a disclaimer. This didn't come from us. This is coming from Honorable.
Yeah, but you know.
But Honorable, will the Ghana card go a long way as well?
So this tax that they are using is good. Let's hope that it's not abused, where some people, you know, there's some always elements who are always trying to abuse the system. So I hope that people don't go and create fake cards and pretend to be staff of the passport office. But they should really consider these cameras. Install cameras, the premises, when people know that they are cameras. That alone, just the fact, even if you'll be surprised that the camera may not be working, it may be faulty.
But the sight of it.
But just knowing that, hey, there are security cameras
will go a long way to help,
it will
right?
go a long way to help.
That is not to say the cameras shouldn't work. They must work
no, they must
at the
work.
end of the day.
They
but
must
Honorable, the last one, let me just say this before you go. The minister also stated that the Ghana card will go a long way to play a very significant role in the operations of the passport agency or the acquisition of passports in Ghana. What do you make of this? And that this would somehow prevent the daily human contact.
If I'm understanding the minister to mean that when the Ghana cards become more available,
right,
every Ghanaian gets it, then you may not have to show up physically for your biometrics.
Right.
Because
it captures your details.
Because the Ghana card, that is the NIA, the institution responsible for issuing the Ghana card, has it. I am hoping that sharing of data will be addressed, because that has always been our challenge. Even already, as we speak, the NIA says that there are about some 50 million Ghanaians who have biometrics, who have the Ghana card. And so, for that matter, they have the biometrics of 50 million Ghanaians. And yet, those 50 million Ghanaians, when they want a passport, they have to do new biometrics. When they want a driver's license, they must do new biometrics. When they have to register for their pensions, new biometrics and all of that. So the challenge is that all these institutions are working in silos. They don't share the data. Let's start seeing that sharing, that data sharing now. So that those who have the Ghana card already, you don't have to be called upon to do fresh biometrics. There are just too many institutions doing biometrics. There is no interlinkage, no interconnectivity, no data sharing. So if we don't address the issue of data sharing, it will just be a wish. The NIA people can even probably hit 30 million, almost the entire population of Ghana. And yet, the same system where when you are going for passport, they require fresh biometrics will continue. You need a driver's license, fresh biometrics. You want to register for pensions or other public services, fresh biometrics. So the challenge is the working in silos, the lack of connectivity, the lack of communication. So let's see that, and then let government. By now, the president should be even issuing instructions on deadlines for all other institutions doing biometrics. Once you end that, passport office, other agencies, DVLA and other places, they know that from this date, they are not allowed to collect biometrics. People will be forced to share data. And the NIA people will also then expedite work and make sure that everybody gets a Ghana card. So it's not just the issue of everybody getting their Ghana card, but it is how that data will be shared, how there will be connectivity, and how we can make sure that the credibility of the database is guaranteed at all times.
Thank you so much, Honorable, for your time. We really appreciate it, as always. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Okay, so that was the Member of Parliament for the North Tongu constituency, Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who also serves as the ranking member on Ghana's Foreign Affairs Committee, Parliament, talking to us about the move by the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, storming the passport office to, get a first-hand information on the operations of the agency, and which somehow has gone a long way for them to come up with new initiatives to ensure that there is that transparency and accountability at the passport office. We will be monitoring, as always. We'll be moving with the minister whenever the need be, and of course we'll be talking to the experts to also share their experts' opinion on subjects like this with us. So once again, I'm sure it's been very informative and very insightful. Thank you always.